Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Colombia's Vice President meets President Bola Tinubu as both nations eye trade beyond oil. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike warns Peter Obi's return to PDP could spell doom for the party. Ishakiri leaders reject worried delineation, demand federal government intervention. And over 800 dead, 3,000 others injured as 6.0 quake hit eastern Afghanistan.
And on business, Nigeria's PMI hits 4-month high on stronger demand and slowing inflation.
On sports news tonight, 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic makes history after becoming the oldest man to reach the quarterfinals at all 4 Grand Slams in a single season.
Finnish court jails pro-Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa for 6 years over terrorism charges.
Nigeria and Colombia have pledged to broaden their bilateral cooperation beyond crude oil, extending into agriculture, solid minerals, and manufactured goods. At a meeting in Abuja, the vice presidents of both countries underscored the importance of pursuing trade negotiations and agreements that lower barriers and create new access to untapped markets. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
This strategic partnership engagement, hosted by the Nigerian government at the banquet hall of the State House Abuja, seeks to promote inclusive growth between Nigeria and Colombia. It's part of a series of events lined up for the 3-day official visit by the Vice President of Colombia, Mrs. Francia Marquez. Nigeria and Colombia have maintained diplomatic ties since early 1970s, with a trade volume of over $170 million as of 2023. But available data shows trade between both countries have not been stable, with Colombian exports to Nigeria declining at an annualized rate of 5.92% from $11.8 million in 2018 to $8.71 million in 2023. The Colombian government indicates interest to invest in renewable energy in Nigeria.
Colombia needs to strengthen productive chains in strategic sectors such as cocoa, coffee, sustainable agro-industry and renewable energies, biotechnology and creative industries. This does not only generate dignified employment opportunities, but also promotes fair trade and cultural identity.
For Vice President Kashim Shettima, there are arrays of opportunities for investment in Nigeria.
Our two countries must seize this moment to engage in trade negotiations and agreements that reduce barriers and open new gateways to markets we have not fully explored. Tariffs, while daunting, can serve as an invitation for deeper innovation and cooperation. We're investing in innovative technologies for livestock breeding, developing machinery, producing chemical-based products such as fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, and creating a strong supply chain.
As a sign of their resolve to strengthen ties, Nigeria and Colombia signed a memorandum of understanding on political consultations.
A historic step towards strengthening cooperation and unlocking new possibilities for mutual growth.
Addressing a press conference after the event, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, and the Deputy Minister, Multilateral Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Colombia, Mr. Mauricio Hasser, speak on the benefits of the engagement to both countries' economies.
We're working on a bilateral air services agreement and exploring the possibilities of For instance, Air Peace that is now flying to Brazil, perhaps connecting to Bogota, the capital of Colombia.
I would like to say that the only thing that matters for us is political will.
This high-level visit of the Colombian government to Nigeria marks a significant milestone in the partnership between the two countries after over 50 years of formal ties. This engagement today is expected to stimulate a more symmetric relationship that explore other areas of collaboration. From the banquet hall of the State House, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Now, indeed, after the meeting between Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima and the Vice President of Colombia, Francia Marquez, where agreements were signed, President Bola Tinubu also hosted the Colombian Vice President, where he reiterated Nigeria's commitment to deepening international partnerships and aligning the nation's foreign relations with emerging global dynamics in trade, politics, and culture. Welcoming Mrs. Marquez at the State House in Abuja, the President emphasized that global economic uncertainties and shifting international policies call for forging new alliances to achieve shared prosperity. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
Vice President Kashim Shettima leads the Vice President of the Republic of Colombia, Francia Marquez, and her delegation to a meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the State House. This meeting is part of the activities lined up for the 3-day visit of the Colombian Vice President to Nigeria. On hand for the meeting is the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, some ministers, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Coordinating Minister of Finance and the Economy, and aides to the President. The meeting commences with the arrival of the President. The Colombian Vice President thanks President Tinubu for the audience, even as she assured that her visit will kickstart a long-lasting relationship built on substantial cultural similarity and heritage.
Y podamos definir de manera concreta nuestras agendas.
Colombia has clearly expressed an interest to strengthen our commercial, cultural, and cooperation ties as countries who belong to the great family of the Global South. We know that we can work together on issues such as peace, economic and social development, the economic integration of both our regions, social justice, but also closely work on issues such as gender justice, because we know that both our countries are truly interested in making sure that women are more and more involved and active in decision-making spaces.
The Vice President also highlighted several areas for strengthening bilateral relations, including aviation, visas, political consultations, cultural exchanges, and trade. In his response, President Tinubu stated that the conclusions of all the bilateral meetings and the agreements signed under the supervision of Vice President Kashim Shettima will receive speedy attention.
Nigeria being producer of gas, oil and gas industry, particularly gas, we have other opportunities in agriculture and good ideas that you might be able to work with a bilateral agreement that you already entered into. We will accelerate it. We will not slow it down.
He also assured the delegation from the South American country that Nigeria will replicate the agreements signed with Brazil on aviation and consular issues. The visit is expected to deepen diplomatic and strategic cooperation across multiple sectors between both countries. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
FCT Minister Mr. Nyesom Wike has cautioned the People's Democratic Party against any move to endorse the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, for the 2027 presidential election. Speaking during his monthly media chat in Abuja, Mr. Wike clarified that he has no intention of contesting in the 2027 presidential race. However, he warned that if the PDP proceeds with such an endorsement, it will be setting itself on a path to destruction.
This is the point that I wanted to make
The September edition of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory's monthly media chat. And before getting into the business of the day, the minister takes a moment to speak about the demise of the first female head of service of the FCT, who passed on September 1, 2025.
Very hardworking. It was because of her hardworking nature. She ought to have retired. I had to write to Mr. President to extend. Mr. President magnanimously extended. She's very experienced, and the first indigenous head of service. It's unfortunate. I will pray that so rest in peace. After now, I will go and pay condolences to the family. It's really unfortunate. What activities?
Thereafter, he goes ahead to comment on the just concluded local government elections in Rivers State, where the APC won 20 local governments and the People's Democratic Party won 3, saying that the results only show that people are losing faith in the party.
As time goes on, PDP has been a predominant party in Rivers. No doubt about that. You also know that PDP has had its own problems. People are losing faith. People are losing faith in PDP, whether you agree or not. It's not to come out on television to say this or that. Whether PDP likes it or not, they had the opportunity. The only thing that's going for me now, and that's why I won my local government, is because my people believe and still have that faith in me. I have not told them to leave APC. To leave PDP. But
despite the zoning of the PDP's 2027 presidential candidate to the south, Mr. Wike takes a position not to run. However, he wants the PDP against fielding the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi.
Bringing Obi to where? Obi to where? You want to kill the party more?
You won't allow.
Obi that, you see, if somebody don't have character, Obi that was abusing the party, that the party is rotten, is this? So the party is good enough for you to come and run for, you see these people, ambition can make you even go to Satan's house. Anybody who says so, like Baba said, I heard him say, that is Baba's opinion, he's entitled to his opinion. But if you want to destroy the party, dare it. If you want to destroy this party, dare to bring it. Let them even become. There's no way he will go because of ambition. Can't we be principled? You talk about Jonathan. I respect Jonathan very well. I know he enjoys the role as an elder statesman and somebody the international community respects, and I think he will continue with that. These people who are weighing Jonathan, what is their strength? Are they not the same people who played him game in 2015?
As the PDP plans to hold its national convention in Oyo State in November 2025, Mr. Wike advises the party leaders to resolve all internal issues before holding the convention to enable a smooth run of the exercise. From Abuja, Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, Ishakiri leaders reject Warri delineation, demand federal government's intervention. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Colombia's vice president meets President Bola Tinubu as both nations eye trade beyond oil. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike warns Peter Obi's return to the PDP could spell doom for the party. Shekiri leaders reject Warri delineation, demand federal government's intervention. And over 800 dead, 3,000 others injured as 6.0 quake hits eastern Afghanistan. In Rivers, the State Independent Electoral Commission, RISEC, has presented certificates of return to the 23 chairmen-elect declared winners of the recently concluded local government elections. At the RISEC headquarters, the Commission's chairman, Michael Ode, reaffirmed the body's commitment to upholding due process in the conduct of the exercise. Meanwhile, the sole administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, has sworn in the 23 newly elected chairmen, urging them to prioritize public service over personal interest.
The hall of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission headquarters is filled as the 23 chairmen-elect, their deputies and councillors-elect, joined by family members and supporters, gather to receive their certificate of return 48 hours after the polls. The ceremony is presided over by the RISEC chairman, Michael Ode, who reaffirms the Commission's commitment to due process and integrity.
We have come to the conclusion of the first part of this ceremony. Like I indicated earlier, all councillors elect are going to proceed to the various offices of the commissioners to collect their certificates of signing the necessary documents.
One after the other, the certificates are presented. Afterwards, some of the chairmen spoke with Channels Television on how they would impact on the grassroots.
My desire for the people of Agricultural local government area is to give them service that will not be compared to any other one. We will serve our people to the best of our ability.
I served my people very well the first term. That's why they give me second term. I believe that's why they came out and voted for me massively. Today, the RISEC has given me certificate of return. And for now, as we are going, we will do more better than what we did, so that the people will have dividends of democracy.
Within hours, the chairman-elect proceeds to the government house, where the sole administrator swears them into office. He charges them to prioritize selfless and responsible leadership.
This victory is not a prize to be enjoyed. It is a burden to be carried. It is not an entitlement. It is a duty. It is not a call to self-interest, but to selfless service.
Unlike past polls, the August 30 local government election may not spark litigation, as the coalition of political parties that participated formally accepts the outcome.
Today marks a profound moment as we, the Rivers State Coalition of Political Parties, RISCOP, stand united to graciously accept the outcome of the August 30, 2025 local government election.
The newly elected chairmen are also expected to inaugurate their respective legislative assemblies and commence the business of governance.
In Delta State, the Shekiri ethnic nationality has raised strong objections to the recent delineation of polling units and wards by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in the Warri Federal Constituency. Addressing a press conference in Warri, the group described the exercise as unfair and called for urgent government intervention.
It's a gathering of sons and daughters of Iwere land at the pristine Royal Event Center in Warri South local government area.
INEC has no power to create communities.
This meeting is convened to reject INEC's recent delineation of wards and polling units in Warri Federal Constituency. Reading from a communique on behalf of the Shekiri ethnic nationality, Chief Brown Mene says, while the group respects the Supreme Court judgment that led to the redelineation, the process carried out by INEC was flawed, biased, and inconsistent with geographical realities.
The first salvo
from INEC against us came like a bolt from the blue, as there was no basis at all for it. This was in Warri South local government, which had 12 wards, 2 of which were predominantly occupied by the Robo, and 8 were in the Shakiri-dominated areas. INEC suddenly redelineated them to 12 wards by compressing the 8 in the Shakiri areas to 6 and bloating the 2 in the Urobo areas to 6, thereby creating the narrative that the 2 were at par. It was made to our electoral disadvantage in our homeland, but unduly favoring the Urobo who were in our homeland.
Speaking further on the matter, the Shakiri chief explains that the polling units and wards allegedly created by INEC do not correspond with actual locations on ground, accusing the electoral umpire of favoring the Jaws and raising questions about legality and transparency as they call on the federal government to establish an independent commission of inquiry to investigate the exercise.
At the end of the commission of inquiry, INEC officials and other public office holders found culpable in the INEC charade regarded as polling units and wards, redelineation in Warri Federal constituency, should be appropriately punished to act as deterrent to others with intention for similar course of action.
Other speakers at the conference also asked INEC to fully implement existing judicial decisions, including the Court of Appeal judgment affirming a 10-ward structure for Warri South local government.
What we are opposed to is the use to which that judgment is being put to support illegality.
The Shakiri ethnic nationality says it remains committed to peaceful engagement, but insists justice must prevail on the matter.
So let's now head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Millicent.
Many thanks, Ayotunde. Well, we begin outside our shores and in the courtroom where a Finnish court has sentenced Simon Ekpa, a pro-Biafra agitator, to 6 years in prison for terrorism-related offences. In a ruling delivered on Monday, the district court found Ekpa guilty of inciting terrorism and participating in activities of a terrorist group. The judges determined that he exploited his significant social media following to fuel unrest in Nigeria's southeast between August 2021 and November 2024. The 3-member panel further ruled that Ekpa had supplied certain groups with weapons, explosives and ammunition through his network of contacts in the region. He was also found to have used the social media platform X to encourage his followers to commit crimes in Nigeria. In addition, the court convicted Ekpa of aggravated tax fraud and breaching the provisions of Finland's Attorneys Act. With the issue, but back home, the federal government is hailing the conviction of Simon Ekpa by a Finnish court as a major victory in the fight against terrorism. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who reacted to Ekpa's 6-year prison sentence for terrorism-related offences, stated on his social media handle that it is a welcome news and a major victory for the Nigerian people in the collective fight against terror. Well, staying with the conviction, the Nigerian Bar Association is urging judges and prosecutors in the country to take a cue from Finland's swift handling of Mr. Ekpa's case. Speaking at a news conference in Abuja on the outcome of the association's annual general conference, the NBA president, Afa Musigwe, commended the efficiency of the Finnish judicial system, noting that he was impressed with the short time it took to complete both the investigation and the trial.
Every society abhors terrorism, and for me the takeaway from it is the time it took to commence and conclude this trial. And I wish our Nigerian judiciary is watching and taking note. And also for our investigative and prosecutorial agencies, investigating the case properly, getting enough evidence, building up a good case before you go to court, so that the trial will go on seamlessly, so that whether you are acquitted or convicted, the facts will be clear. For me, I would rather focus on that aspect as a takeaway for the Nigerian judiciary. And also for it to also show that persons who have access to social media should be careful how they utilize them to promote hate or terrorism, and that we will all be held accountable for abuse of social media or some other means of communication. And that the Nigerian Security Agency should take note of abuse of social media for such purposes, and not only wake up to utilize it when a politician is criticized, and it will become, what is that crime they call it, cyberbullying. We should look at those who are using it to provide ethnic hatred, to promote terrorism, and get hold of it and try them wherever you may be found, wherever you are instigating it. For me, that should be the focus of our attention.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's PMI hits a 4-month high on stronger demand, slowing inflation. That's on Business News. Join us again. Watching the news at 10, coming to you live from our Abuja studios. Let's talk security now. The Office of the National Security Advisor has dismissed as false and baseless the claims by former Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai alleging that the federal government coordinates a policy of paying and offering incentives to bandits. In a statement signed by the Office of the NSA, spokesperson Zachary Minjiawa, the office emphasized that the government has consistently warned Nigerians against ransom payments and will not act contrary to its own directives. Part of the statement reads, quote, "At no time has the Office of the National Security Advisor or any arm of government under this administration engaged in ransom payments or inducements to criminals," end quote. It further explains that since inception, the administration has adopted a dual strategy of decisive kinetic operations alongside community engagements to address local grievances, an approach, it says, has yielded results in parts of Kaduna State such as Igabi, Benengwari and Giwa, which previously faced severe insecurity but are now enjoying relative peace. Now, for those using the trains to travel, especially in the north-central part of the country, well, this next story might interest you. The Minister of Transportation has disclosed that it will take at least 10 more days to restore the damaged rail track and possibly resume full operations on the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. He made the remarks during an on-the-spot assessment of ongoing restoration works at the site of the recent derailment near Asham Station in Kaduna State. And it was indeed a busy day for the FCT minister after his media parley earlier today. Now, Mr. Nyesom Wike flagged off the construction of a multi-purpose sports centre at the Cafe District, Abuja. Well, speaking at the ceremony, Mr. Wike described the project as one that aligns with President Bola Tinubu's vision of placing sports at the heart of national development and citizen engagement. It's yet another project flag off ceremony by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, and this time the gear shifts to the sports sector as the administration unveils this multi-event sports centre in Cafe District. The acting executive secretary of the FCTA gives details of the project.
Essentially, the sports centers are to provide improved access to sporting facilities within some populated districts of the Federal Capital City to support and sustain the growing interest of the teeming residents in keeping fit and healthy.
The proposed edifice is expected to house sporting activities such as basketball, lawn tennis, volleyball, among others. The project is described as one which aligns with the vision of President Bola Tinubu.
What you are doing here is clearly what we want to happen everywhere in the country, because sports is about security also. If you engage the youth, you provide them a platform to engage their energy and to see a pathway where if they participate and get the best kind of training and what have you, they can live their dreams and they can be the best that they could do.
Today, we are shaping a legacy that would outlast all of us. And we pray, if this project is being completed, it will shine as a symbol of opportunity, unity, and excellence for our unborn generation to come.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory agrees with previous speakers and advises youths in the territory to take advantage of the project.
That's why we call it multi-sports events. It has everything you can talk about, any kind of sport. And so we encourage our youth to take advantage of this. Although government will not run it, we'll go into a partnership with private individuals to see how we can run and maintain it. You want to be a basketballer, you want to be volleyball, football, lawn tennis, squash, table tennis, whatever you think, we're going to make it available here and to the international standard. This is not the only one we're going to construct. I'm sure the other one has been awarded to the same company. And we're going to make sure at least next year we'll go to other area councils to make sure we encourage our youths in those area councils.
Done with his speech, the minister, accompanied by other guests, proceeds for the flag-off. The project, which is located just adjacent Gwarimpa, is expected to be completed by June 2026 to form part of President Tinubu's third-year anniversary.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. Over now to Ayo Tunde for more on the news at 10. Ayo?
Thank you so much, Millicent. Africa risks remaining largely a consumer of food, services and innovation if it fails to harness artificial intelligence to drive productivity and competitiveness. This warning was issued by Nigeria's Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Mr. Bosun Tijani, at the GITEX Nigeria ICT and Innovation Forum in Abuja, sponsored by MTN Nigeria. Mr. Tijani emphasized that AI must be central to Africa's strategy for job creation and wealth generation.
This is GTEX Nigeria 2025, a landmark technology summit held in Abuja. It was organized by Kaon International with National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, supported by the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, and backed by MTN Nigeria as the official sponsor. The summit brings together top government officials, diplomats, investors, including executives of MTN Nigeria, tech executives, and private sector leaders. Development partners also joined to reinforce global collaboration.
For investors that we meet everywhere we go.
The summit's goal include driving digital infrastructure, mainstreaming artificial intelligence, and advancing public sector innovation to position Nigeria as a leader in the digital economy.
Underpinned by the overarching national AI strategy that was only launched last year, with a 5-year roadmap to look at, again, very clearly positioning Nigeria to be in its global leadership position, but importantly, looking at governance, looking at Nigeria being a responsible innovation leader in the world.
We need to build capabilities in 3 or 4 areas, cutting across policies, computing and infrastructure, and human capital.
The minister reiterated that AI is key for African economies to create jobs and grow wealth.
AI will widen the gap between nations around productivities. Countries that are already ahead will move even faster, and those that are still catching up will find it even more difficult to catch up.
The management of MTN Nigeria reaffirmed the company's commitment to building a robust digital ecosystem for Africa.
Artificial intelligence can have a massive impact in our society, and we see it's a part of our key responsibility to provide the computing infrastructure through this data center, which we've just completed the first phase of. But the connectivity remains as important as ever, and having fiber deployed to all the businesses and at the homes where you have these developers is absolutely critical to the success of artificial intelligence in Nigeria.
Online today, we host about 12 petabytes of data. Granted, we're moving from a telco-centric environment, and we're moving into a technology space. AI is all about data, and it's how you're able to utilize this data, of which we're in that right space to do.
With Nigeria's population set to hit 400 million by 2050, speakers at the summit stressed that jobs and competitiveness depend on adopting artificial intelligence now, warning that Africa cannot afford to be left behind. From the venue of the Government Leadership and AI Summit, Benny Ark, reporting for Channels Television News.
Business News is up next with Will Ibom.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Nigeria's private sector strengthened in August as improved demand and easing inflation lifted business activity. The Purchasing Managers Index rose for the 9th consecutive month to 54.2 in August from 54 in July, the highest since April. Output and new orders rose sharply with demand hitting a 19-month high. Most sectors, such as agriculture, services, wholesale and retail trade expanded, though manufacturing lagged. Hiring continued, but at a slower pace, while backlogs fell for the first time in 5 months. Price pressures also eased. Input and output costs grew at their weakest pace in more than 5 years, with wages rising mainly on account of incentives and cost of living adjustments. Despite softer sentiment, businesses remain upbeat on future output, supported by strong orders and expansion plans. Now we head to the domestic equities market now, which kicked off the first trading day in the month of September on a negative note. Laddie Williams gives us the highlights.
Hello and welcome to another trading month. But before we get into the market performance for today, let's take stock. And we see for the month of August, the all-share index gained 0.31% in that whole month. And we see year-to-date gained 36%. Top sector, insurance, that rose 44% for the month of August. Let's look at the best performers now. Mutual benefits insurance, that led the gainers for August, up a whopping 114.29% for the month. But first, the first trading day of September, the bears dominate as the all-share index dips 0.41%.
Thank you, Laddie. Let's hope for a rebound tomorrow. Now let's take snapshots of closing numbers for other major global markets around the world. And that's business news. It's back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Will. Still to come on the news at 10, over 800 dead, 3,000 others injured as a 6.0 quake hit eastern Afghanistan. Please join us again. Welcome back. A 6.0 magnitude earthquake has struck eastern Afghanistan, killing more than 800 people. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news in Around the World in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More than 600 people are feared dead after a magnitude 6.0 earthquake hit eastern Afghanistan. That's according to the Taliban Interior Ministry. The quake, at a shallow depth of 8 kilometers, shook buildings from Kabul to Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. The remote area where it struck makes providing accurate estimates hard, as officials warn of high casualty figures. Dozens of houses are under rubble, while officials report entire villages being destroyed. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he reached understandings with US President Donald Trump over the end of the Ukraine war at their meeting in Alaska last month, but he did not say whether he would agree to peace talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Speaking during a summit in China, Mr. Putin continued to defend his decision to invade Ukraine, once again blaming the war on the West. Putin was speaking in Tianjin at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, where he met Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, has called for the immediate and unconditional release of 11 UN staff arrested by Houthi authorities in Yemen. The workers were detained by security forces in raids on the World Food Programme, children's charity UNICEF, and the World Health Organization. The raids took place in the capital Sana'a and the port city of Hudaydah. The UN said the Houthis had already been holding 23 other UN workers arrested since 2021. Police say a fugitive who allegedly murdered 2 officers in a small rural Australian town in the state of Victoria is being helped by some members of the community. Desi Freeman has been on the run since last Tuesday when police arrived at his property to excavate a search warrant. Mr. Freeman, a known conspiracy theorist, escaped into thick bushland bordering the property, with a massive manhunt for him now in its 7th day. His wife, Amalia Freeman, had earlier urged him to turn himself in and offered her condolences to the families of the officers he is alleged to have killed.
Last time I spoke in front of you, I appealed directly to Desi Freeman to ring 000 and then we could work towards a surrender plan with him. I'm going to change tack a little bit and read into this what you will. I extend that invitation to anyone who's harbouring Desi Freeman, who's considering harbouring Desi Freeman, or know something about the people that are harbouring Desi Freeman. That offer is absolutely out to you as well. You are committing an extremely serious crime by harbouring or assisting in the escape of Desi Freeman. People know the whereabouts of the person who's killed 2 cops. People have chosen for whatever reason not to come forward, and I'm taking this time to appeal to you to come forward.
A suspect in the fatal shooting of the prominent Ukrainian politician Andrei Purabi has been arrested, that's according to Volodymyr Zelensky. The 54-year-old parliamentarian was killed by an attacker posing as a courier in the western city of Lviv, sparking a manhunt. Ukraine's interior minister said in a statement issued in the early hours of Monday morning that the suspect had been detained. The people of Malawi are set to vote for their next leader following a turbulent 5 years involving economic turmoil, natural disasters, and the shock death of the nation's vice president. Current President Lazarus Chakwera is vying for a second term, his main rival being Peter Mutharika, an octogenarian who has also held office once before. Transparency and fairness are key talking points ahead of the vote, given the result of Malawi's 2019 presidential election, which was overturned in the courts due to widespread irregularities. And there was a happy ending at the US Open after Polish tennis star Kamil Maszczak tracked down a young boy who was left devastated after his signed cap was snatched away during the tournament. Maszczak personally met the boy and gifted him with another cap and added his autograph. Days earlier, this video of the player's cap being snatched from the boy went viral. The boy can be seen asking the man what he was doing, to little effect. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. In the world of sports, Super Eagles forward Victor Boniface has joined Werder Bremen on a season-long loan from Bayer Leverkusen. The deadline day transfer signing came after several failed transfer moves for the 24-year-old. In August, Boniface was linked with a move to AC Milan, but the deal fell through after he reportedly failed a medical despite an agreement with the club. The striker played a key role in upfront as Leverkusen claimed an unbeaten double in 2023-2024, scoring 14 goals and laying on 9 assists in 23 games. Well, it's a deal done and dusted. Liverpool have finally landed Newcastle striker Alexander Isak in a British record £125 million deal after a protracted chase for the Sweden star that dominated the Premier League transfer window. Isak has reportedly signed a 6-year deal contract with the Premier League champions after they finally convinced Newcastle to accept an improved bid. And Slots Liverpool had a £110 million offer rejected by Newcastle in August, but Isak's determination to force through the move paid off after the transfer saga grew increasingly touchy. That's sports. I'm Kelly Egiga. Back to you today.
Many thanks, Kelly. And the main news again. Colombia's Vice President Francia Marquez has met President Bola Tinubu today as both countries pledge to deepen international partnerships and broaden bilateral cooperation beyond crude oil. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.